Hi everyone, welcome to another home brewing series from Arishtam. Today we are we are with Kapil, and today we are going to talk about how to make 30 liters of beer at home. Okay, so this is the beer brewing kit that Kapil bought for his anniversary. Today we are going to unbox him with him. So Kapil, you got this delivered to you from FedEx or which courier the courier service?
We don't understand. I don't remember the courier service.
But you got it, right? So let's see what all things are there. So first thing, you want to make a guess what this is?
Yeah, this is probably to cork the bottle.
The capping, right? So what it will do is, if you have the glass bottles and you can reuse any of the glass bottles, you'll have some lying around. Otherwise, you can always call your friends or a nearby bar. So you can use. This will sit on top of this. There has to be blanks, which I'll show you later.
Okay.
And then once this is achieved, you press it down.
Okay.
So when you press it down, it will create a seal.
Okay.
So today we will seal this bottle towards the later mid of the show.
Sure.
So about this. So this is item number 1. Now the item number 2 is this is a siphon.
Mm-hmm.
You made wine before. So did you use a siphon at that time?
Yeah, I just put a pipe and suck it out using a syringe or something.
So exactly, you would have used the same process that you were using to take petrol out of a two-wheeler.
Yeah.
So we are going to use something similar. Let me get in scissors.
So it's essentially what we suck it out from the pipe.
Exactly. But the problem with sucking is there are two problems. First is the aesthetics problem.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make beer, you'll have to invite your friends over.
Okay.
Right? You'll invite your friends over. You'll like to showcase your skills there.
Not sure I can have all of it, but
yeah, it's always good to boast in front of your friends.
Cool.
So when you do it there and you explain that a part of your saliva was also in the ingredients, it might create a problem for them.
Sure.
So for this we use a siphon. Now I'll just show you. It has a lot of small parts inside.
Okay.
So you have to be very careful with these small parts. This is spring as well. Let me just pull it out. Yeah. So there's a ball, there is a spring, and this is a washer. Now we are going to fit this inside, and just
Spring first. Huh? No.
Ball first. Right? So when we press this down, the ball goes up
Okay.
and fills with water. And when you pull it up, the ball will sit at the base, at this hole,
Block the water.
and it will block it. So it acts like a one-way valve.
Yeah.
So it will block it. So your a little bit of suction has happened. Then when you do it a second time, a little bit more would have happened. In about 3 or 4 times, it will create enough water that will start flowing and starting the.
So you just dip it 2-3 times. And
2-3 times when you dip it. Up and down motion has to be done. Not in a way that will agitate the entire thing, but in a gentle manner. And then apart from that, it's the same pipe that you would be familiar with if you have driven a two-wheeler.
No. Yeah.
Right? So, and once the flow starts, it will be there.
Got it.
Right? So typically when you are using the siphon, so we are going to use the siphon. I'm presuming you are not going to use a secondary fermenter, or are you going to do a?
I don't know. You have to take.
Okay, fine. So you can keep this fermenter on top of say your kitchen slab. That is a very good level to keep your fermenter there, and you can keep all these glass bottles on the floor.
Okay.
So this will create a natural gravity for you, and there are
When you siphon it out,
you'll siphon it out. You can do from there.
Yeah.
So this is the second
But
item that
this
is
is the
there.
last process, right?
This is the last process, but as I'm unboxing, I'm showing you what all things are there. The malt is responsible for the alcohol content. The hops is responsible for the bitterness as well as the aroma. It also helps you in the foam, the head that you create.
Okay. As in while drinking or while the
When you serve.
When you serve.
Serve, right? There's a foam on the top,
Yeah.
the fizz of the foam.
Yeah.
So hops helps you retain that head.
Got it.
If you compare that with soda or you compare it with champagne, the foam does not stay there.
Correct.
But here, the hops will help you.
Okay. Understood.
Then comes the yeast, sachet of the yeast is there. This is a lager yeast sachet. So I wasn't aware that you like the wheat beer yeast. So if in the order notes it was mentioned, we would have given you the yeast for for the wheat beer.
Okay.
But there's a lager up there. You can also use this as well.
But how does it matter? What is the? You said that the fermentation happens at the bottom. What is the difference?
Okay, so they are various kinds of yeast, but in the beer making, there are two very predominant yeast.
Mhm.
One is an ale style yeast, and the second is the lager style yeast.
Okay.
Now, the ale style yeast is very similar to the yeast that you use for winemaking, in the sense that they operate at room temperatures or a little bit higher temperatures. B, they are top fermenting yeast. So when you are making wine, you would see that a lot of froth would be coming on the top,
On the top, yes.
right? Because it's a top fermenting yeast. The cells of those yeast are they attract the CO2 molecule.
Mhm.
So since they attract the CO2 molecule and they are hydrophobic, they will rise on the top.
Okay.
Now what happened was, I'm again digressing a little bit, so pardon me for that, would be that when the Europeans traveled all the way to Argentina, they on a Spanish boat they got some of the yeast from Argentina. These were the tree bark yeast. Now the tree bark yeast, now if it was attaching itself to carbon dioxide, then it would not be able to adhere itself to the trees that way.
Okay.
Right? So that was one difference. The second thing was, since Argentina and the Latin America had a lot of cold spells, so these yeasts were very resilient to the lower temperatures. Now, on the boat, how it happened, people are still unclear. Scientists are still unclear in spite of all the research that they've done. On a Spanish boat, this Argentinian yeast came back. Those Argentinian yeast went all the way to a cave in Belgium.
Mhm.
In the cave inside the Belgium. In the Belgium, what they used to do was they used to have this. Have you seen the Frozen movie?
Yeah.
Right? In the first series of the Frozen, they are cutting ice blocks.
Mhm.
They would be cutting 1 meter by 1 meter of ice blocks.
Yeah.
The Belgians and the monks in the Belgians, they used to brew inside caves so that the temperature is lower, the flavors are a little bit more there.
Okay.
So it went all the way from Argentina to Spain to Belgium inside those caves, and it mutated with the normal ale yeast,
Okay.
creating a separate kind of a yeast which is called a lager yeast. Now the reason why it is important is today 80% of the bottled beer that is sold, those are lagers.
Okay.
They have a much crisper, cleaner taste. They are more transparent. Compared to that, ales, they have much more aromatic.
Okay.
So somebody who likes ales, they might find, the joke goes around, they find lagers to be like piss water. Like some European and American brands of lagers, bottled beers.
So basically the taste is also different. It's
The
not
taste
just
will different, the enzymes will different, the kind of flavors, because the yeast itself brings in a lot of flavors.
Mhm.
So those will also change.
Got it. Okay, understood.
So it has
this is the
this is a lager yeast.
Lager yeast. So this will ferment at the top,
at the bottom.
at the bottom, and okay, lager will ferment at the bottom, and the other one is
The ale will ferment at the top. The microbreweries or the craft beers, they are mostly ales,
Ales.
and the bottled beers are mostly lagers.
Mostly lagers. Got it.
And that is the reason why you see the price difference between the two, and you also see the difference in the taste and the kind of people following.
Understood.
Not saying one style is better than the other. It's just like
Preference.
they have branched off into two different zones of the beer industry
Got
per
it.
se,
Got it. Understood.
right?
And till the time you add this yeast, the process for both are exactly the same.
Yes.
Only once you add the yeast.
Once you add the yeast, if you subject it to lower temperatures, it will still function and it will perform better. While the ale yeast requires something like a 14 to 25 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
Today, Bangalore in the month of December is like you can use either of the two.
Got it. Understood.
So this is what it is. There are a couple more things. There has to be more attachments to it. Idea how to take these out. So we had talked about the bottles. So we are going to use this to crown cap. Now we talked about the head
Mm-hmm.
For the head or the kind of a foam that you get in the beer, there are a couple of things that are required. So firstly, you require a little bit of alcohol because that helps, but not too much of alcohol. So up to 3 to 7% is the ideal range.
Okay.
Second thing is you require a little bit of hops. The difference between the soda, champagne, and other sparkling beverages and beer is the beer foam is stays. The other foams just fizzles out.
Yeah. Yeah.
In case of champagne, it doesn't even stay. Only the bubbles people see.
Yeah.
So the hops help to stabilize that head.
Good.
You said you liked wheat beer. So in the wheat itself has certain dextrins which also further enhances it.
Got it.
And the third thing that is required is you require some dissolved carbon dioxide.
Mm-hmm.
Now-
Dissolved carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide needs to be inside there.
Okay.
Right? It's a carbonated beverage. It's a fizzy beverage.
Got
So
it.
for this we are going to use priming sugar. So priming sugar we would use about 8 grams per liter.
Mm-hmm.
So to give you an idea, this is a pint which is 1/3 of a liter.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to use about 3 grams inside that. So that's about half of a teaspoon
Mm-hmm.
of sugar inside that. We put this on the last day when your entire fermentation is complete. You're going to put it in just before the bottling.
Oh, so it then again creates some amount of fizz inside. the
Exactly.
bottle. Okay, okay.
And then we'll seal it.
And this is normal sugar or is it something special?
It's this is made from pure glucose and dextrose monohydrate. So the idea of this is that it should be able to not provide sweetness because you don't want your beer to be sweet. Secondly, it should be able to ferment under pressure without creating any stress. If the stress if you use normal sugar, then you get a little bit of stress in the yeast. I'm going to open this. Yeah.
So how do we just keep it on top?
Yeah, so
And
that
just put this on.
exactly. So you can either keep it here or there's a magnet also,
Yeah. So
and it will stick on the magnet as well. So whatever you are comfortable with. If you are comfortable keeping on this, then yeah. I think you keep it on the
yeah,
bottle.
on the bottom.
On the bottle.
And then you see,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yes. Press it.
Done.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, this is good. This is so good. So all these,
Yeah.
everything that we have,
Yes.
these we get in the open market as well.
Wait.
Is it okay?
Wait. No.
No.
No. Completely not okay.
Okay.
So you have to first pull it all the way up.
Okay.
See, there's this metal teeth inside.
Yeah.
You want these metal teeth on
Here. Okay.
on here.
Okay. Just beneath. it.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is a bell cap.
Okay.
This bell cap is what it's going to do is it's going to force this cap
Yeah.
and it will scrimp it.
Okay.
So with the two action, it will create the seal.
Is it okay now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Now you put it.
Done.
Done.
Done. And then you put it on top.
Not bad.
Right?
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Now, what is recommended is you can, if anybody of you is good into painting, then you can take some paint brushes,
Yeah.
decorate the bottle a little bit. If you don't want to take that much trouble, you can print labels, stickers, and stick it.
Sure. And these are like standard caps, right? It will fit any of the
All the
bottles.
bottles.
that
It'll Pepsi, Cola, almost all the Biras and the Kingfisher bottles.
Got it. Good.
But we prefer this in pine bottles. The reason is, if you have to gift somebody, pine does not hurt you that much.
That's true. I think until now we were only collecting wine bottles. We'll start collecting a lot of wine bottles.
Good. So that particular thing is right at the end. So
That is at the right at the end.
while you're doing this.
I
Yes.
made notes because you
No, I understood. I
Don't worry, I will share the recording as well. Otherwise, it will be there in the book as well. The next item, last time the whole thing got counted out. So, okay. Then this is some gelatin. So gelatin, I hope you guys are non-vegetarians or
Vegetarians.
Okay, so this is this you may like to avoid, and if you have agar with you, you can replace it with agar. Agar or China grass, what we call.
I don't know.
This is vegetarian form of gelatin. Otherwise, you have to use a very small quantity. What gelatin does is, after your beer is completely fermented out, you are going to take some hot water, put some dissolve some gelatin inside that, and pour it in your beer, and then put this entire thing in your fridge for about 24 hours, 24 to 48
How
hours.
is this good thing going to fit in the fridge? Please tell me that.
It will fit into any fridge.
This.
We'll have to remove for
How many shelves
for
will
how
have
long?
24 hours.
24
For 24 hours.
24 hours is fine.
Okay.
Like 24 hours, you can manage it.
Got it. Yeah.
And if you are serious about this hobby, what you can do is you can get those Amul freezers
Yeah.
and ice cream freezers,
Please
and you can
don't be
convert
fighting us.
and you can convert that into.
This thing.
Got it. But can you now explain
I will explain it to you.
from the start till the end, because
I
now
will
we've
do that.
seen all the components.
No, you still haven't seen almost all. There are more components to it. Right, so you have an idea about what temperature it is. You just have to peel the paper and stick it there. Similarly, this would be the water marking levels. Again, it will convert into a transparent sticker because it's a white yellow paper, and you have to merge this with the sea. Then there's one more thing. So you saw one for the siphon. Now, similarly, the problem with the siphon is that once the flow starts, it's very difficult for you to control the flow. Now, in the bottle, you'll have to control the flow as well, because otherwise you'll spill a lot. So we use this, and this has the same diameter as that one, so it will fit into this tube.
And you press it down, so it's.
So when you press it at the bottom,
It starts.
It starts. So you put it inside the bottle, it is starting flowing. The moment it fills to the brim, you pull it out.
Got it.
Now this has two advantages. Firstly, when you pull it out, there's a negative displacement. So all your bottles will be filled exactly to the same level. So you'll have a batch of about 50-60 bottles. All the bottles will have the same bottleneck.
Got it.
So when you put in a display in a party, all this gyan that I'm giving is so that if you throw a party,
I think people are so greedy, they're not going to throw any party, they're going to finish it all by themselves. I just have this feeling it's just not going to
We'll
happen.
figure out.
See,
We'll figure out.
it is good to consume yourself,
Yeah.
but it is even better
To give it to the others.
to give it to the others and tell them that you know something that they do not know, and they have not even thought about
The
it.
wine is quite famous in our complex anyway.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, this is a good
Yes.
piece.
So it will not spill, and secondly, when you take it out, every bottle will be at the same level. So you don't have a problem कि कोई ज़्यादा भरा है कोई कम भरा है, because then people start comparing इसमें ज़्यादा है इसमें कम है. So those problems will not be there. So it looks a little bit more professional. So this is the entire thing. Now if you can take notes, I can quickly walk you through the process. So you are going to take a big bhagona, and you can use any bhagona that is available. Right? You'll have a big vessel for boiling the milk or washing your potatoes. Otherwise, you can just talk to any utensils guys. They will have this. In the US, it's called stock pot. India, में bhagona बोलते हैं. So you take one. Take it as big a size as possible. So if you can handle a 30-liter one, that's great. If you can't handle the 30-liter one, then you have to take two smaller size ones.
Got it.
Okay. So I'm again explaining the difference from the wine making to a beer making. In wine, the alcohol content is higher. Secondly, wine is very, very acidic. So if you would have seen that the wine sometimes feels very tart. So low pH plus high alcohol content makes wine very, very resilient. That is the reason why in the European winemaking process you'd see people stomping on the grapes and doing all those things. Compared to that, in beer making, it's going to be very, very, it's more like a surgery.
Sterile.
It's sterile environment. You are expected to wash yourself till the early course.
Like a surgeon.
Like a surgeon.
Yeah.
Right? So the cleaner the entire process is, the better it is for you. So first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take a stock pot. Inside the stock pot, you're going to take 30 liters of water because it's a 30-liter vessel that you are having. If you want to make a little lesser quantity, you can take a little bit lesser. Then you are going to pour this small packet. Let me open one malt packet for you. Now, you must have heard about malt.
Yeah, I have. It's just that I don't know what it is, but yeah. I don't know.
Let me make you taste it, and you after that you tell me you have not tasted it before.
This looks like the base of our Bonvita and Boost and everything.
Now you saw that it's a little bit sticky also.
Even the malt, yeah.
Yeah. So that is the reason why when you are pouring the malt, you have to constantly stir it. If you don't stir it,
Lump.
A, it will form lumps. B, it will stick on the bottom. It will caramelize. And when it caramelizes, you will make something called a red beer. And the flavor notes also, you'll start getting caramel notes, etc. Maybe you like it, but it's not the
It's not
intended
beer,
thing.
it's not the normal beer.
Yeah.
So you put it slowly, you're saying?
You stir while you're putting it, and you scrape the bottom. So with your long spoon, you can scrape the bottom 2-3 times while you're doing it, so that it doesn't stick in the bottom and gets burnt.
Got it, understood.
And while you're pouring it, do it in make sure that it's not very cold water, because in very cold water lumps will form a lot easier, and boiling water also it will create lumps. So it's a little bit warm water, like you bathing water.
Yeah, warm water.
Little bit warm water, low flame. And once it has dissolved, then you can increase the flame to the max.
Okay.
While you're increasing the flame, also remember, if it's very close to the boiling, it will spill over. So if you're not stirring it, because it will form a little bit of froth inside that, it can spill over. So you have to continuously stir and watch it so that it boils. We call it a rolling boil, but it does not spill over, because again then it will be a mess for your milk to clean.
Got it, understood. So we add it when it is warm, but
Yes.
keep stirring,
Yes.
and then we allow it to boil.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Now, since you mentioned you are doing wine making, you were measuring the spices you were adding, or you were not measuring the spices
I did not add any of the spice.
during the wine making? You were not adding
Just
any spices,
the.
because a lot of people add cinnamon or cloves or pepper.
I did not. Yeah.
Okay, so if you are into this, one more thing I would recommend you is maintaining a logbook. So in the book, there will be a beer logbook as well. So this is for the winemaking, and this is for the beer. So it has, you can record the original gravity, final gravity, how much hops you have added, all those things. The reason to record this is because your beer is going to be a combination of different things.
Yeah.
If you record them, then if you make it into a good recipe, it is easier for you to replicate it.
Got it. Understood.
We think that our memory does not fade. Unfortunately, it takes about a week to 10 days to make a beer. Another some time before you get the feedback. And so by the time it's about a month's time and we have forgotten, we have a rough idea of what we have to do it. The worst thing that can happen is you stumble upon a good recipe and you forgot.
Yeah, you don't remember.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Sure?
So we are till the point where we have added the malt in it.
Malt in it, right? And then in malt, you allow the water to be a little bit higher side. So 50-60 degrees Celsius, which is like a bathing water, but not scalding hot, because in scalding also lumps will form a little bit more. Then you add the hops. Now there are two kinds of hops here, the Dana hops and the Citra
So when
hops
you say you
here.
add the hops when it is boiling, at full boil, that is when you add.
Well, after you've added the malt,
Malt
then you can
immediately.
add the hops as well. If you are doing a proper with the grain kind of a beer making, then there's also a time difference, because the boiling portion takes about 2 hours there. With the malt extract, we are going to heat and cool in less than 20 minutes,
Okay.
rather than the 2 hours. So here, recording what time you added does not make that much of a difference. Over a 2-hour period, what we do is we have something called an early hops, which is the bittering hops. And then there's aromatic hops or noble hops, which we add towards the last 15 minutes. Sometimes we add even hops at flame off, like tea leaves. If you add tea leaves early, when the milk is cold, milk and water is cold, you get different flavors, different color. If you add tea or towards the last, you get a different flavor. And there's some people, like the Darjeeling tea or the white tea, they would add after the water is boiled and they turn off the flame, and then they would add the tea leaves. There the aroma is totally different.
But in this case, do we have to do all this, or
We are not doing it for your first batch, but I'm giving you this so that later on when you make more batches, you can also play around with that flavor.
Understood. So over here, the moment I add the malt and I'm
You,
stirring
you
it,
add
we
the
add
hops,
as well.
right? You don't pour the full packet. You, based on how much bitterness that you want, you are going to do it. The rough rule of thumb would be yeah, a wheat beer or a low bitter beer will have about 1/4 gram of hops per liter. A half gram per liter is something which most people like. IP etc. can have 1 gram or sometimes even as high as 3 grams per liter. But they go on the higher bitterness side. A lot of people don't like those things. Apart from when you're adding this, there are other things that also you can add. So you can add a little bit of ginger if you like ginger there. Orange zest that we talked about. Now orange zest is, we don't have to put the orange juice inside that. But what we do is we take the whole orange, and you can get orange almost round the year these days. You wash the orange, and then before the water your wort has boiled, you will take a kind of a scraper. One would be those big ones,
Yeah.
which will peel off everything. But you don't want those. You want something which you use for ginger. So something like this.
Yeah, correct. We have
The idea is to only take out the orange peel from the peel,
Got it.
not the white or the yellow portion, depending on which kind of an orange you are using. In a 30-liter thing, about 3 to 4 oranges is something that I would recommend. It will enhance the citrus notes. Citra will give you a little bit of citrus notes, and this will enhance it a little bit.
But it won't add to the bitterness.
Orange peel is not so bitter, and you are only using peels of 3-4 oranges, so you are using very minor quantity, so it will not make a difference.
Sure. Okay. Understood.
You can add a little bit of pepper if you like, so you can play around with the spices if you like the root beer or the spicy beer. Ginger is something that I would strongly recommend you to add. Not in the first batch, but in these subsequent batches, you can also play around with the mango pulp. A lot of people like mango beers or fruit beers, so mango pulp is a very good.
When should we be adding all of these?
All these before boiling.
Before boiling.
The best part about boiling is a kind of a sterilization process, so it will take care of most of the microbes and most of the problems that you will have. Once you have a good grip about your fermentation process, then later on in the fermented tank also, like you add in the wine, you can add those spices later on as well. But don't do it while you are just starting to get into the beer making.
Understood.
Every parameter you can play around with.
Sure.
And today I am only going to talk about parameters which is the least risk of failure.
And the basic ones.
The basic ones
Got it.
with the least risk of failure.
So we have boiled the.
Now you have boiled the wort.
Yeah.
Now if it's a small quantity and you are strong enough, you can carry the entire thing to your kitchen sink. And when you carry it to the kitchen sink, before you carry, you can use an old rag or a kitchen mop, and you can clog your drain pipe. So when you clog your drain pipe and you keep it inside the drain, you have created like a kind of a water bath.
Yeah.
You can pour some ice there if you are into haze, or you can turn on the tap, let the water be there, and allow it to cool for about 20-30 minutes.
Why not just allow it to cool naturally? Why do we do this?
Couple of reasons. So first reason would be, if you have boiled milk earlier. Have you tried boiling milk?
Yeah.
It takes about 2-3 liters of milk would be taking good 3-4 hours for you to cool.
Perhaps it takes a long time.
It takes a long time. With 30-liter batch, it will take much longer time. So sometimes it takes overnight,
Okay.
which is a chore in itself. Second thing is, the faster you cool also helps you in pasteurization. So pasteurization is you boil it and then you cool it.
Okay.
And this at fast temperature gradient deactivates the enzyme, the microbes a lot faster.
Okay, understood.
And then there is flavor changes as well, which you can always talk about. So every process has an impact on the flavor. So that is also there.
Got it. Okay.
So this would be there. So if you can carry that, that is great. Otherwise, if you don't want to risk it, which is also fine, because I don't want people carrying 30 liters of boiling water anyways. So you allow it there, and there. Later on, once you pick up this hobby in a very specialized manner, then we can what we can provide you is kind of a wort chiller, which is like a heat exchanger.
Okay.
So you pass cold water through them or your tap water through them, and it will inside on your stove itself, it will cool it down.
Understood. Okay. So yeah, so we cool it down.
We cool it down to room temperature. And this step is very very important, because if your liquid is hot and you added your microbe culture, your yeast into it, then the yeast dies.
I was saying it will die.
It will die, and that you were seen in case of when we are making curd, for example.
Correct.
If the milk is too hot and you have added your yeast, खमन बोलते हैं, क्या बोलते हैं yeast starter को? The curd starter को?
Jamun.
Jamun. If you have added the jamun when the milk was too hot, then you get paneer. Nothing else.
Okay. So we let it cool down.
Cool down.
temperature.
And here the best thing is your body temperature. Your body temperature is 38 degrees Celsius. If it is cooler than, if it does not feel warm, then it is less than 38 degrees, which is very close to 35 degrees Celsius, wherein it is the optimal time to add your yeast.
Got it. And how much yeast to add?
So this entire packet, 12 gram sachet, is good for about 25-30 liter packet, 35 liter beer. So you add the entire thing.
Okay.
So this is a step. The additional step which is involved is, now the vessel, you had boiled it and cooled it down. So your liquid is sanitized. But once you have cooled it down, any further contact this liquid is going to have with any surface, those surfaces need to be sanitized. So for sanitization, there are a couple of options. One is the Amphosan. So Amphosan would be the food grade sanitizer. You can get iodine tinctures from the chemist shop. You can get iodine tinctures there. The third thing, which is very easy for you to find, would be hydrogen peroxide. If on your wounds you would have you were seeing the doctor washing with some transparent liquid and that bubbles up immediately. So that's the hydrogen peroxide.
Okay.
So any of these three you can use. Otherwise, on the internet you'll find more brewing sanitizers. The hand sanitizers that you were using in the COVID time, that cannot be used. The reason is, any of these sanitizers, so once you sanitize the liquid, the food grade brewing sanitizers, you should not be washing them, because the tap water itself will bring further microbes.
Got it.
So defeating the entire purpose.
Yeah.
So the residue has to be food grade.
Understood.
So only thing that you will do is, like if you sanitize this fermenter, you're going to invert the fermenter and tap it a little bit, so that the excess water, whatever is there, that comes down. But apart from that, there is no need to again wash it, clean it, or wipe it. Don't do any of those things.
Okay.
And that's when we talked about, right, you have to wash your hands till the elbow. It was a joke, but the idea is that once you've cooled the wort down, so we call that whatever the malt that you boil as wort. We don't call it a beer as of now. So once you've cooled that down, any liquid has to be very very sterile conditions. Otherwise, the chances of you making malt vinegar is very high.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so you pour it. So you sanitize this fermenter. You're going to pour your wort into it. You've added your yeast here. Then you're going to add. You're going to lock it with your air lock. So now this is a 2-lid fermenter. So one lid is this one, and the second lid would be the screw type. The 2 lids ensure that there is a very good airtight seal is maintained. If you are doubtful that your fermenter is sealed or not, then you press it slightly. So when you press it slightly, this it pushes some air out. And when it pushes the air out, you have to check in your air lock, which we will put attach in the middle. That air lock should displace. If it displaces, then you know that the seal is pakka. If not, then you do something like what you do in the puncture shop. You are going to spray some soap solution across, see where it is bubbling, and you'll try to tie it with Teflon tape, or you'll have those cling wraps. Any food grade material, you have to.
But this is airtight, right?
This is airtight. The brand new is airtight. As you use it, or if you're moving to a second fermenter, sometimes it is not there, or the threads you're not attached properly. You have to check that. And you just attach here.
This needs to be, there has to be water, right?
There has to be water or sanitizer. So any sanitizer, after you washed it, a little bit of sanitizer, you can keep it here. This works exactly as your pressure cooker mechanism. It is called a 3-piece air lock. So 1, 2, 3. Three pieces are there.
Okay.
And so as the air pressure gets built up, then it will allow the carbon dioxide which is generated to go out, while the oxygen from
And this lid
outside.
has to be closed at the top?
This lid will has
It has
holes.
holes, okay.
At holes, so it will. Yeah.
Sure.
Now it will take you about 30 hours, 1.5 days for the fermentation to start. So once the fermentation starts, I'm not making a batch now because if I pour 30 liters of liquid here, it will be difficult for you to carry in your car and go all the way back. You have to थोड़ा सा side से try करना पड़ेगा.
Okay. Cool, understood. So this
इसको
is...
उल्टा रख दीजिएगा.
Okay.
इसमें वो basket वगैरह सब लगाओ. साइड में basket.
Okay. Okay, good. So, Ajay, this strength of the beer, because generally they say that the strength obviously keeps varying, right? Beer to beer. So how do you do it? Or is this a preset strength that will be created with this?
Yes, that's a very good question. What strength of beer you like?
Light only, not very.
But if you
Maybe say
can-
5% or something.
5%, right? So in the book it is which
Why don't you tell me where you like at George?
So like at Toyota also we have.
so for the 5% beer, you need the specific gravity of 0.2. Sorry,
That's the starting
need
point.
5% you need about 10% malt.
Okay.
So 10% malt means now the difference in the malt is malt never gets fully fermented. So about 80%, 70% attenuation you will get. So you start with about 15% malt, 15% malt you will start with, and you 15% if it gets fermented 70% of the time, then you'll get about 10% of fermentable sugars.
Okay.
And the 10% fermentable sugars, when it ferments, you get a 50% efficiency beer again. So you make about 5% beer from there.
Okay.
Now this is, since you're using malt extract, you can use weight as a reference here because you know how much sugars you have, malt or sugars you have added and how much it will reduce. If you are not using that, if you are using from grains, the entire what you're making from scratch, the way our forefathers would be making it, then you would need something like a hydrometer.
Yeah.
You want to explain us how you use the hydrometer?
So I generally just fill up whatever there is the fluid in that,
Yes.
and so this one, then I dip it in, just spin it once,
Yeah.
and wherever there is that lower meniscus, you take that reading.
Okay.
So that's the starting point, right? So
Okay.
that's what, and then finally when the fermentation is over, you do it one more time, and the difference, then there is a formula calculator.
Perfect. So that's how a professional would do it, and the only difference would be what I would do is I would allow it rather than spinning it a little bit. I would fill the beer almost 2-3 just 1 inch higher and allow a little bit to overflow. So when I allow it to overflow, whenever you pour, there's some tiny bubbles that get formed. When you overflow, those bubbles flow out. So it makes the reading a little bit easier. But apart from that, I use exactly the same. Question was, can I use wine yeast to make beer? Maltose is difficult for the most of the common microbes to ferment out. So if you add wine yeast to there, you'll end up with making something like a sweet wort. Because you'll get about 40 to 60%.
Not everything will get fermented.
You'll get about 40 to 60% only fermentation will complete, and you will still get you will still left with a lot of sugar, which will make your beer taste very sweet and will throw off the entire calculation, flavors and everything.
Understood. So till now, what you've described is
The first day process, which is going to be the most labor intensive process.
correct. So we have even cooled down the wort,
Yes.
and we have added the yeast.
Yes.
We have put it inside this and did the airlock.
Put the airlock,
Correct.
and you keep it in some place in shade. So you can use this fermenter carton to give you shade. Otherwise, if not possible, you can take an old blanket or a couple of your old t-shirts and make a cover up for this.
Understood. So now this stage, how long is this stage?
You're going to wait about 30 hours for the A-log activity to start. If the A-log activity has not started, then you need to add a second sachet of the yeast there, because the chances are either you added it too high or the yeast died, which happens. It's a microorganism culture. Sometimes they don't survive. Okay, then you are going to, like wine, you are going to wait for about 1 week. The entire wort is going to be very, very murky. But as a beer starts finishing out, the yeast will settle at the bottom. The malt also, the unfermented, a lot of these unfermented malt, hop particles, they'll also settle in the bottom. Your beer starts clearing out. So you'll see that there will be a yellow cake at the bottom and there will be a clear liquid at the top. A clear, but not as clear as you want, but it will be relatively clear liquid. So that is the first change that will happen. The second change that will happen is you would see that the A-log activity would have come to a zero. Earlier you would see every minute or two there will be a bubble, but now even after 5 minutes you will not see any bubble coming. So these two you will definitely see. You are going to add some gelatin here. So what you will do is you will take half a cup of water, not boiling but very hot water. So like a chai, the chai temperature water, and you are going to put about 1.5 teaspoon of gelatin in that. You'll have to stir while doing it because gelatin becomes very, very sticky and sticks on everything. And you're going to pour inside your beer. Now here this fermenter also comes into the picture, because this fermenter you don't have to open your big lid every time. It has two baby ports.
Okay.
So these are for any measurements that you have to take, any additions that you have to do, if you have to add some more spices or a little bit. So you can do all those without disturbing the entire setup. So you're going to pour this thing, and then you have to make space in your fridge. So till now you are keeping it outside or at least below 25 degrees Celsius, which in Bangalore is not a problem. So you'll make some space in the fridge and bring it down. If you can monitor the temperature, bring it to 4 degrees Celsius. That is ideal. Because 4 degrees, the cold crashing will happen very, very fast. Other temperatures, it will take a while. You keep it for 24 hours there. So when you do it, so cold temperatures accelerates the sedimentation process. Plus, what gelatin does is, gelatins will bind to all the yeast cells which are hanging there. It will bind them, it will make them into bigger molecules, which will accelerate the sedimentation part. If you are a vegetarian, you don't want to use gelatin, you can do it without it. Otherwise, you get this agar or China grass, which from which you make the vegetarian ice creams. So gelatin is used primarily in ice creams, but if you are making the vegetarian ice creams, it is they use it. You can use that as well.
And if you don't use gelatin at all, so it's just going to be murky or some other problems also?
It will be a little bit murky, but since you said you like wheat beer, so in wheat beers typically we don't use it because wheat beers tend to be cloudy. So you are okay with that, and or you will have to spend more time in the sedimentation process in the refrigerator for it to clear.
So what do you mean more time? Is it 2 days, 3 days? Or?
So normally it takes about 24 to 48 hours. Here in this case, you might even spend 1 week. If you want a crystal clear pour for your Instagram picture.
Okay.
But if you don't care about it, then yes, your beer is ready.
So taste wise, there is no problem.
Taste, everything is done.
Okay.
Now, since you mentioned the taste, now is the time also for you to taste your beer. So now, rather than using the word what, I'm using the word beer. You can taste it. If you feel that there's any additions that you have to make. So if you believe that it does not have the aromas there, so you might do a little bit of dry hopping, which means you can add a little bit of hops there.
Just sprinkle it, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 90% of the chances you don't need to make any alterations, but if you want to make a little bit of alterations, this would be the time. Some people like to add a little bit of spices like pepper, cinnamon, ginger. So this would be the time to add those as well.
In the same
fermenter. It is only to give you वो जो last तड़का जो हम लोग बोलते हैं ना. If you feel you want to do it, you can do it. 90% of people don't do it.
Understood.
Okay. After your cold crash, you take it from the fridge, then you start bottling it. But when you
bottling it cold or allow it to again come back to room temperature?
Doesn't make a difference. In fact, cold is better, but doesn't make a difference.
Because we are adding some sugar, no?
Yeah, so sugar you can with a teaspoon you can add it in the bottle itself. You are going to So there are two kinds of spoons, right? There's a teaspoon and there's a tablespoon. So you're going to use about half a teaspoon per pint. And if you want to do it in a large batch, you want to measure it, so you are going to use 8 grams of priming sugar per liter. So in a 30-liter batch, into
8 liters for the 30 liter batch.
8 gram
8 grams.
So 8 grams for 30 liters.
per liter.
Per
Yes.
liter. Oh.
Yes, that's a maximum. If you add more than that,
240 grams.
explosion will happen.
Okay.
Otherwise, for your thing, you can add the entire full packet.
Got
That
it.
is good enough.
Understood. And is it also mentioned on top of it?
Yeah, 1/4 to half teaspoon per pint.
Got it. Okay. And where do I use that thermometer scale? How
You,
does-
you you put it on the top, you stick it there, and you can measure the temperature there. The idea is you don't want the fermentation to be occurring at more than 25 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
The reason is at higher temperatures you start getting they start producing some fusel oil, the stressed yeast notes. If you have had a cheap daru, you would get a hangover or you don't feel good.
Hmm.
That is because they were fermented at higher temperatures.
So this fermenter can be kept in kitchen.
Yes. If you are strong enough, top of the refrigerator I find as a best place. It is away from the kids, it's away from the pets. But otherwise, most people, this large fermenter, they will keep it on the kitchen slab in one corner.
Got it. Understood. Yeah. That is
The important thing would be you keep it away from sunlight.
from sunlight. Understood.
That is the reason why almost all beer bottles are in amber color, because alcohol plus hops plus UV light makes skunk beer.
Understood. So, as a first timer, what are the common mistakes that someone can do and should be looking out for?
So first thing that a lot of people do is they don't wait for the wort to cool down.
Okay.
In a hot wort, they will add the yeast and the yeast dies, which is very, very common. Second thing is they don't use a sanitizer enough. Or they sanitize the whole thing, and after sanitizing, they wash it or they wipe the entire thing with water, and which means the entire sanitization process goes for a toss. These are the two things. The third thing is they did not wait for the fermentation to complete, and they bottled too early. In which case there will be excess of carbonation which will happen. If you are lucky, then it will only mean that when you open it up, there will be too much of foam that is coming out. If you are not so lucky, then yes, the bottle, the cap might go away, and it will spread beer all over, creating a mess.
Got it. So these are the only things that can.
These are the.
So simple things to look out for.
Let me put it this way. If I can ask you, when I ask for this thing, human beings evolved from hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
Her name's Vidhi. Human beings evolved from hunter-gatherers, right?
Yeah.
So hunter-gathering is a very, very simple task. See, you go in the morning. Yeah, you catch few animals. You pluck a few berries. You pluck a few fruits.
Done by lunch.
Right? By lunch, you can be home and you can bring enough food to feed your family. Compared to that, farming takes about 6 months of back-breaking work even today.
You've read this book called Sapiens.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, it is true.
So why would anybody who's into a hunter-gathering mode go towards agriculture, which means that for 6 months he has to toil, and during the 6 months, if the too much of rain came, which happened in Bangalore last month, in November month, there was too much of rain, entire crop will go. Or there's a stampede in which some wild animals were let loose. There's a fire. Anything can happen, and your farm will go for a toss. Which means you went through all this hard work and didn't even give you food security. Why would anybody go for farming?
So you're asking me a question.
I'm asking you a question.
I don't know, maybe a variety of food, or you can just keep it, store it.
She knows the answer, so
Because you can, there is consistent, sustained food if you once grow it.
consistent sustain is the right answer, but not the food of alcohol.
Of alcohol, okay. Alright, yeah, so people.
Because the grapes or the fruits from which the wine could be made, they were only seasonal. They were not growing all throughout the year. Grains could be there, and that is also shown in our tax system. So if you look at the ancient tax systems, Mughal tax systems, or during Ashok times, or even prior to that, only grains were taxed. Fruits were never taxed. Vegetables were never taxed. Why? Because it was the king's responsibility to ensure that the troops had enough supply of beer.
Okay.
We talked about the IPA. IPA was the crown giving beers to the soldiers stationed in India. So if the point being is, if even before mankind learned agriculture, they had mastered the art of making a decent beer. If they could do it, today our kitchen is like a super laboratory for them.
Sure, I'm just hoping that all of this turns out. Just imagine if I manage to spoil it even after this, so just tells you where I am in that cave.
If you spoil it, it's like a spoiled mash. You don't tell anybody. You'll make some nice vinegar from it. You can use it for your barbecues or for your cooking, salads.
Good.
But 30 liters of vinegar will take a while for you to consume.
You distribute it in vinegar bottles.
A lot of salad.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks,
Sure.
Shakur. I think this was good. This was good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just keep us posted and do throw a party when you make a batch.